The feedback that you receive is just like a radio station. When you're listening to the radio, the fact that you even have the ability to hear static confirms that you are tuned in, tapped in, turned on. You're in the right place at the right time for whatever you're meant to be doing, right? Which is trying to get to the radio station of your choice. When we say what your feedback is saying, we're talking about you choosing the radio station of yourself. You being inside of a space of recognizing that oftentimes the reason why you feel like you can't move forward, the reason why you feel like you have analysis paralysis, the inability to have strong decision-making skills, it's because you don't have enough feedback, right? The only way you'll know that you're getting from one radio station to the next radio station is to hear the static, is to hear the feedback. To continuously hear that lets you know that you're getting to the next station, to the next area that you want to get to. It's the same way for you. I want to empower you to know that if you just put one foot forward in front of the next, if you just do one thing on your it list, if you make one post to post online, if you show up confident in one way be consistent every single day, and it's not as easy as it seems to be when you're first building the muscle, you'll get the feedback, right? You will be surprised when you'll get somebody to say, wow, that's a great idea. Wow, I understand where you're coming from. Wow, I can see the concept. That's feedback. But when the mind has been conditioned to constantly receive negative feedback, and it could have been from your environment that you grew up in, it could have been from your parents, your friends, relationships that you've been inside of, even negative self-talk, where you are constantly just used to getting negative feedback, it may be hard for you to actually receive when you hear the positive feedback and apply that to what it is that you are creating, right? One of my clients said the other day that her husband told her, sometimes you just don't be seeing things. Isn't it interesting how until you buy a car, you don't really see the car that you want until you're set on wanting the car, or until you buy the car, then you see that car everywhere else. But before that, you really didn't see that car as much. It's because when your awareness becomes increased, when your perspective is enlarged, you're then able to take in what seems like the same environment, the feedback, and take that message and that purpose intentionally and create from there. So when we say what your feedback is saying, let's say you're inside of a phase where you know you want to create more, right? You have the idea, you have the purpose, you've become intentional, but now you're striving to figure out how you can get more into creation mode versus survival mode, right? Because you're inside of that space where you're going and you're showing up and you're the working woman, and you feel like you want to add more, you want to be more purposeful, but you're trying to figure out if you're going in the right direction. Let's talk a little bit about validation. The purpose of something can only be truly found in the creator. So while you want people to validate your idea, you want people to validate your thoughts, I want you to see that the validation will have to come from yourself first. You will have to know that what you have is good, that you're worthy of your own. Knowing your worth, then add tax. So that way when you do receive the feedback, right? When you do receive the feedback, you know what to do with it. The second point is feedback is not always physical in a sense. Sometimes feedback is the next clue. Sometimes feedback is you overhear a person talking about something that you just was talking about. You see something on your phone that you just was mentioning. You see somebody else doing an idea that you just said that you wanted to do. That still is feedback. See feedback as signs and synchronicities for you to be able to confirm that you are either on the right path or that something is playing out in front of you that could not be meant to be. It's not always going to be negative. It's not always going to be positive, but it definitely is going to be a perspective of how you see things. If you have an avoidant energy, you don't want to create because you're scared of what somebody else may think of you, judge you. You feel like you don't belong. You feel like you don't fit in. You feel like you don't have enough knowledge. You feel like you don't have enough information or understanding. That is a sign for you to show up even more, so that way you can get feedback. And if the feedback is positive, you can learn how to accept it. That's a journey on its own. Oftentimes people only want to put themselves out there once they feel like they've made it all the way to the end of the journey, and they have people confirming and validating that what they're doing is it. What happens when you start getting validation and you can't even accept it? You can't accept the good because you're so busy accepting the bad. You're shrugging off when people give you a compliment. You shrug off when people say you have a great idea. You shrug off when people say you should reach out to this person. You should reach out to that person. You should connect with this organization. You shrug those things off, even though that's the feedback that you should be tuning into. You shrug those things off because you're playing tricks with your mind, thinking traps, as my life coach used to say, putting yourself in thinking traps, thinking, oh, well, it's not, is your idea or your purpose is not, you're thinking it's not good enough. But then you're thinking you need validation for you to know that it's good enough. And then when you get the validation, that's still not good enough. There's a releasing that has to happen. It's the radical framework, right? Release, align, accomplish, and dream. There's a releasing that has to happen in order for you to make room for the next. There's a releasing of the mindsets. There's a releasing of the lack of emotional control, to know that when you do get those thoughts, that feelings are fleeting, and that's where you need discipline. It's a release of the repetitiveness of the thoughts. It is the alignment with new thoughts. It is the catching and the awareness of being inside of a space that when the thought comes up, you're able to see it. You're able to take the feedback. You're able to not be all over the place and bring your mind back to the reality that you're creating and then looking at the data and creating from there. You're creating, looking at the data and creating from there. You don't be afraid. Don't avoid putting yourself out there to get feedback. Don't play it safe. Don't silence yourself. Be inside of a space where you know you are a grower. Be a grower, right? Being a grower means being inside of a space where you're ready for a new level of growth. You're ready to reset. You're ready to take on a responsibility of your purpose, no matter what other people are doing. But 9 times out of 10, if you feel like you don't know your purpose, you are having experiences around you. Life is giving you the feedback, the data to say, hey, remember when you dealt with this? You could talk about this. You could help people with this. This could be your purpose. Remember when you dealt with that? Remember when you went through this? Remember when you went through that? Majority of the time, it's your trials and your tribulations that are a good reflection of your purpose. The question is, are you going to be woman enough, a warrior woman enough to be optimistic about the opportunities at hand, to even show that you can have emotional intelligence enough to even receive the positive feedback and then give? It's about being a server. It's about giving the knowledge, the wisdom, the information of the situation that you've been through, that you've seen somebody else been through, that you're passionate about, giving, no longer holding that in, holding your tongue, having these thoughts about, oh, I would help women with this, or I would do that, or I do see that I need to help my mom or my family member out because of this, but, if you are putting hints out there, if you are sowing seeds, the feedback is going to be the inevitable about what you can receive and what you can do with that. I want you to grow. I want you to be inside of a space where you know that growing is the inevitable for you. It's about whether or not you're ready to start taking your feedback and making it positive. being inside of that space, in which I know that you are. So I want to invite you to a special offering that I'm bringing to the table for you, which is to get inside of my 6-week Grower Accelerated program. And in this program, we work together hand in hand now for you to be able to not only start to grow physically, yes, I'll be teaching you how to garden. How beautiful. To go from growing nothing to growing vegetables and fruits in 6 weeks. Wow, that's amazing. But we'll also be growing together in reference to your personal and professional confidence.